And good evening and welcome inside DeSanto Field as the Case Western Reserve University Spartans, 5-0 on the season, get set to take on Thiel College. They're 1-4 and kickoff is set for 6 o'clock p.m. in just a few minutes. I'm John Schwartz. Alongside me is head coach Greg Debeljak. And coach, before we talk about this week's game, let's look back at last week's game and probably as all around the dominating performances you've had so far this year, a 49-0 win. Take us through that game and some of the many things that probably went well there for you.
Yeah, it was. We played well in all phases, and I think the first 4 games we had a lot of 1-2 play drives and scoring on big plays, which is great, but you also have to sustain drives, and we had a lot of very good quality sustained drives on offense. Defense, another great job of forcing the ball out, a lot of 3-and-outs, kept them under 100 yards and total offense for the other team. And then special teams has been again another strength for us. Another solid game on special teams. So no, good solid win and did a lot of things right. A lot of guys got to play. So chalked it up and move on and get ready for Thiel.
I want to take a second and talk about your secondary this season, and it's one of those years where statistically, if you look at their individual numbers, they're not fantastic, but a lot of that has to do with just the fact that, the balls aren't heading in their direction, they're stopping plays, and you're at a point now where you're number 1 in the country in passing yards allowed. Talk about what that group, those starting 4 back there have done to really limit the opposing passing game.
Well, I think it starts with the people up front. As you mentioned, we're getting a lot of stops. We're putting teams in positions where they have to throw, and they're choosing not to. And I think that's a conscious choice because, Woody Hayes said, when you pass the ball, 3 things can happen and 2 are bad. So they're trying to stay away from those negative plays and turnovers, and they're being really cautious. So it's limited our opportunities for interceptions, but we've obviously done a good job of limiting teams from passing the ball down the field. I think the completion percentage is well under 50%. So there's a lot of positives. They just haven't had many opportunities. I think 5 games they've thrown under 100 passes against us. So when you're playing from behind and not throwing the ball, I think that's a real compliment to your total defense.
Want to switch to offense, talk a little bit about the running game, and especially now, running back usage going forward. Last week, Andy Kapsick had the first 100 all-purpose yard day for Spartan running back this year. Can you talk about how you foresee using your running backs going forward as you come into this more difficult part of the season?
We're going to go by committee. Gage Dusler, who's very experienced, great at pass protection, great inside runner. And you've seen Mitchell Waite also do a great job of running the football and catching the ball out of the backfield. So we feel we have some versatility at the spot. We'll continue to give multiple guys reps there, but probably Kapsick, because of production, will be a guy that we'll see carrying the ball more as we move forward.
Switching to this week's game, and you're facing Thiel. Obviously, Thiel coming in with that 1-4 record. You guys are 5-0. This is kind of, almost the unofficial end to that first part of the season that you're probably looking at. Talk a little bit about this game, the team's mentality heading in, and what you've seen so far about Thiel on the game film.
Yeah, I think our mentality's been the same as it's been for 6 weeks. We're just trying to get better. We're focused on the opponent. Each opponent gives, different challenges to us. And I think you look at Thiel, and I think they stand out on defense. They have 2 very good defensive linemen, all conference players from previous years. They are playing with some younger guys in the secondary, so that is a little bit different for them. But up front, it will be a challenge. If we come out with not giving up any sacks, that will be a really great effort by our offensive line. Offensively, they do have guys that can make plays. They had a 95-yard reception for a touchdown last week, so they have big game playmakers. But again, they're a little young. They have new quarterback, a lot of new faces. So but I think the speed and just general ability that they can score at any moment will be something our defense will be concentrating on.
Well, Coach, thank you very much, as always, for joining us this week. We'll be coming back to you in just a few minutes. The start of the game, kickoff coming up at 6 p.m. Case Western Reserve versus Thiel College coming up in just a few minutes.